So think about it this way. Even though the drop of water is in the ocean, the drop of water itself can never know the ocean. Even though the drop is one with the ocean, the single drop can never know the entirety of the ocean. It can only merge into that ocean. So let's look at this idea of we not knowing and the divine only knowing itself. Since the end of Pauri 21, we've heard Guruji say time and time again that it only knows itself. In Pauri 21 we heard, Kiv kar akha, kiv salahi, kyo varni, kiv jana. How can I say, how can I praise or describe, how can I know? Nanak akhan sab ko akhe, ikdu iksyana. Nanak says, becoming talkers, everyone talks and everyone thinks that they know. Everyone thinks that their understanding is cleverer than everyone else's. Vadda sahib vaddi nai kita jaka hove. But grand is the master, grand is its praise, and only what it does happens. Nanak jeko apo jane age gyana sohe. Nanak, if one thinks that they know themselves, if one thinks that they themselves know, then going forward they will not be honoured. So in Pauri 21, Guruji has already covered this idea that we can't know anything. In Pauri 22, Guru Nanak Dev Ji says, Nanak vadda akhiye ape jane aap. Nanak is saying that you are great, you are grand. And everyone says that it is great and grand, but nobody knows how grand. That much ape jane aap. It only knows itself. In Pauri 24, Guruji said, Jeward aap jane aap aap. Only you know yourself. Nanak nadari karmi dad. Nanak, that graceful one, graces its gifts. In Pauri 25, Guru says, Ape jane ape de. It itself knows and it itself gives. Akhe sebe kei ke. And only few people are able to speak of this. So what is the reason for time and time and time again, for the last 5 verses, for Guruji to keep making this one point, that only it knows itself? Why does Guruji feel the need to repeat the same point so many times? Is this just humility? Is this just poetic license for Guru to write however he feels fit in something in a poetic style? Or is there something more? I think this reveals the final step of the process of losing your ego, of your own personal transformation on this journey. This is the indicator, this is the surrendering of everything of yourself, to constantly say, I know nothing. So it means that then the definition of a follower of the Guru, the definition of a Sikh, the definition of a learner is to say, I know nothing. Because Guru has constantly said, I cannot know, only you know. So when you give up the idea that I know, when you completely accept and know that I know nothing, not that what I know is irrelevant, but that I actually don't know. Because who is the one knowing? If there is a knowing, then there is a one who is holding on to that knowing. The one that says, I am knowledgeable. So this, I think, is the final step of just repeating this idea that I just don't know anything. What can I know? So you're surrendering all of your understanding. And the point at which you feel you know, Guruji has labeled us as the king of fools. So deep should be our relationship, our connection, so deep should be our commitment that devotion leads to our own destruction. Our devotion has to lead to the point at which not that we obtain the divine, but we lose ourselves into the divine. So much so that you're just left profoundly speechless and just in awe of that divine oneness. And you'll notice in present moment awareness, you just have to look at a rainbow, at a waterfall, at a sunrise, and you're speechless. Now think about the one who is the sun of all suns, the one that is in every sun. They say the sun around which planet Earth circulates is one of the smallest suns in the galaxies. The suns are infinitely bigger, and we're in awe just of the tiny sun that the tiny Earth orbits around. So Guruji is in awe of this thing that is the creator of everything, that creative power that has created everything. So we have to be so still in our mind that we're in awe by every moment, by everything that we see, by everything that we trade with, everything that we come into contact with should be this priceless trade. Guruji has almost now described what is the experience of that priceless trade. Everything is an expression of your awe, of your wonderment. See, when we come to search our own ego, when we try and understand ourselves, we realize how little we even know of ourselves. When we go further and further and delve into why we think the way we think, what are the memories and past experiences that have led us to behave the way we do now, when we start unearthing just our own experiences in our own tiny lives, and we realize how little we've actually understood of ourselves, then what can we know of this divine? It takes a lot just to know your own mind, to know your own life. And still, even when we think we've understood our minds, then we get lost in our minds again. We forget time and time again. So we continue to act in our own selfish way day after day. So if we don't know anything about ourselves, if we have no control over ourselves, what do we think we know about the creator of everything, of all time, of all space? You know, we don't even know very much about the universe. Even science today is in its infancy. The first space rockets only went up in space around the 1940s and 50s. So, what is left to be explored, it's almost the exploration hasn't even been started. What we know of the universe is minuscule. So this idea that we know must be surrendered. The idea that you have gained some knowledge has to be given up. Because the moment in which you gain some knowledge and you hold on to that idea that I know, what you say to everyone else, in your thoughts and in your actions and in the way that you trade and deal with everyone else, is say, I know and you don't know. That makes us the fool, the king of fools. The point at which we trade with someone else in a way that says, I know more than you. When we don't even know ourselves, how can we know more than anyone else? So we always have to be really cautious when entering in any debates, any religious arguments, any spiritual vichar. Because anything that you understand is from your very limited perspective. And two people debating are debating from two different limited perspectives. Neither of them know the whole, and yet they're just debating from one angle. It's like the children's story that you get of all the blind men holding on to different parts of the elephant and shouting at each other saying, no, the elephant is like this. One person's holding the tail and says, oh, it's thin and long. Someone's holding on to the tusk and saying, no, it's hard and strong. So all the different parts that people are holding on to, the bits that they understand, they say, this is it, this is what the elephant looks like. And we do the same with spiritual knowledge. And we can debate with everyone from other traditions and say, no, our guru is right, our way of thinking is right. The guru may be correct, but what we know of the guru is limited. What we even know of our guru's wisdom is always going to be limited. So you're debating from the limited perspective of your own understanding. So knowledge is not the key to unlocking the divine. Knowledge is not the answer. Knowledge is the vehicle. Remember, the Guru Granth Sahib Ji is full of knowledge, full of gyan. It is said that it is an ocean of wisdom. But that wisdom is not for you to collect that wisdom is to carry you across. You don't hold on to the wisdom once you reach the other end. Remember how many times Guru has used this analogy of the Guru being a boat? Once you get to the other side, you don't take the boat with you. You have to let it all behind, leave it all there. And you have to surrender everything. So you can't hold on to this knowledge of the Guru. The knowledge is the boat that carries you across. But the knowledge shouldn't be held on to. Once you hold on to the knowledge, then you hold on to the one. You're remaining on the boat. You're saying, I'm happy in the boat. What is the purpose of a boat? To get you to the other side. If you're so happy with the boat, you say, I'm just going to stay here. The very purpose of the boat is not being fulfilled then. The very purpose of the boat is to get you to the other side. But then you have to get off. So we can't limit ourselves and say, you know what, I'm going to learn everything in Guru Granth Sahib Ji and that's it, I'm going to know all that knowledge. No, the Guru wants you to transform yourself. The purpose of the knowledge of the Guru is that you liberate yourself from your bondage, from your attachments. Band khala se pane hoye. From your bondage, from your attachments in life. You have to be graced with the knowledge to move beyond that. Let's think about a very simple analogy. If you know everything about a cake, take the example of a particular cake. You know everything about it, how to bake it, what the ingredients are, what the quantities are to use, what it should look like in the beginning, what it should look like in the end, how long to bake it. None of that knowledge comes close to somebody who gets to eat the cake. Your understanding of the cake, when you eat it, transcends all the knowledge of somebody who just knows everything about it, how to bake it. And for the person eating the cake, they don't want to hear your stories about how you baked the cake and what the ingredients are, and because they're enjoying the taste of the cake. The taste alone is enough. They don't want to hear all the babble and everything that went into it. In fact, at that point of tasting the cake, the knowledge of it is just an interference. When I'm enjoying the cake, let me enjoy the cake. I don't need to know everything about how you made it. So the one who is enjoying the cake, the knowledge is irrelevant. They don't want to hear your lectures about the cake. And rather, they would want you to keep quiet and say, why don't you just taste the cake as well? Your babbling, your bol vigard, your knowledge is ruining the moment. Just eat the cake. And when I eat the cake and when you eat the cake, then I don't need to say anything. Then I just look at you and I know that you know, because we've both enjoyed the taste of the cake. Do you see how limiting knowledge is compared to experience? And once you've enjoyed the taste of the cake, what can you say? Guru talks about this as being gunge ki mithiyai, like eating something so delicious, but being completely unable to say anything about it. But there's a joy on your face, and you just know. And when somebody else who's also tasted that cake, when they know, you can see the joy on their face because they know. And when you don't have the cake, then you can talk about the cake. Then simply talking about the cake becomes part of that way of bringing that enjoyment back, that flavor back, that zest. That comes back as soon as you start describing it. But you have to describe from a place of having tasted it first. And even then, when you've tasted it, you may not be able to make that cake yourself. Tasting is not the equivalent of knowing, and knowing is not the equivalent of tasting. So in describing, having tasted, having known the taste of it, that's when we can go back into that euphoria, into that wondrous play of just enjoying, savoring the moment. Years may go by and you may still be talking about that one cake. And every time you talk about the cake, every time you describe, the describing itself is like a meditation. It brings you back into that bliss. And I think we'll leave it there. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.